move on to our top stories in the state this week. So, last week, Governor Mike Braun called for a special session of the Indiana General Assembly to consider redrawing the state's congressional maps. This is part of the president's efforts to gerrymander Republicans into a permanent majority, beginning with next year's midterm elections. So Monday, on the day the governor had eyed for the beginning of the session, members of the Black Legislative Caucus rallied in the State House to protest the move. Hoosier GOP main leaders for their efforts, reportedly still lacking the votes to ram through these maps, kicked the beginning of the special session into early December, with legislators also set to consider tweaks to the tax code at that time. Now, meanwhile, in a survey conducted by pollster Christine Mathews for Indiana conservation voters, a majority of Hoosiers said they didn't want redistricting, with 45% of voters strongly opposed. Only 39% of respondents supported the effort, but only 23% strongly supported the mid-decade gerrymander. So what we see here, as I read this, is, gerrymandering is unpopular, but the folks who don't want to see it are really, really against it, and the folks who want the gerrymandering are like, meh. So I don't know, Ross. Did I read that right?
Yeah, I think you did. It's an interesting thing because the people in Washington just want a seat or two seats, and they don't really care whether it's popular in Indiana or not, and they don't really care if the long-term result of it is bad for Republicans, which personally I think it is. But so you're talking about top-down politics, forcing people to do something that's unpopular. It's a great test, and pretty sure the Republicans are going to fail it because they have again and again and again. Like, whatever the president wants is what we have to do, even if it means jumping off a cliff. So it's not popular in Indiana. It's not popular with them. It's probably going to ultimately create more competitive districts if they try to oust Andre Carson
and Frank Bourdain.
The people in Washington don't care.
So listen, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, because we'll talk about sort of the Indiana lessons to be learned from this week's elections at the back end of the show. But on this redistricting effort specifically, take, for example, Leslie, if you look at Virginia this week, every district there shifted toward Democrats significantly. Now, if Indiana Republicans go through with this redistricting, they're giving up a little bit of their cushion in their safe districts to borrow Republican voters from Carson and Mervan's districts. Well, if they borrow a little too liberally, they might shoot themselves in the foot and wind up giving Democrats a potential advantage in more than just the two districts. So I would say with that, you think these guys are getting cold feet? Are they glad they didn't ram these maps through a couple months ago?
They should definitely get cold feet because it's totally wrong. It's unethical. It's cheating. It's just blatant cheating. And if 40% of the people who vote in Indiana are Democrats, we should have 40% of our Congress people should be Democrats, not 7-2 as it is now. And I really think that they are going to bring the wrath of the electorate down on them. And what I would say is, be careful what you wish for, because you may end up losing some seats because, we do have low voter turnout, but I got, a flyer from the Indiana conservation voters saying no redistricting, and they are going to bring people out of the woodwork. And we all know giving in to a bully is ridiculous. You've got this geriatric man in the White House tearing down the East Wing, putting out a sign. This is the Oval Office because he doesn't even know where it is anymore, I guess.
In that live, laugh, love font. Yeah.
And that presidential walk of fame as if we're in Hollywood or something. Like he thinks he's famous because he's been the president. I mean, it is just insane. And I think that people have had enough of this cover up of the Epstein files. And that's why they're doing it, because they're so afraid of this damning information about Trump and other Republican donors that are in these files. And, and I think that people are getting sick of it. We're sick of it.
Yeah. It definitely, you can see the opening and you can see where this thing could backfire if they go through with it.